Attention in the pits. All racers, report to the staging lanes. The show is about to start.
You ever weigh it?
I know, but I had another one just like it that I had.
So I want to bring up a conversation you guys had about this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we weighed mine.
About his what he's expecting one to do. I was trying to comment in. I was watching that one live. I couldn't
do it.
I
Huh?
couldn't send in. I think I got the through there to remind you to like and share. I think that was the night, but then I couldn't get anything else to go through. I'm like,
Got a few in there.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Howdy, everybody. As you can see, we got Mr. Joe Bass in the house tonight.
how y'all doing? Get a beer.
Yep. Get your favorite beverage. If it's orange juice, that's okay
Yeah,
too.
that
House
too.
tonight.
How y'all ever
Put a little vodka in it, but
iced tea, whatever,
All right.
coffee.
Yep.
Join us.
Whatever your favorite beverage is.
Joe's in town this week to pick up his engine. We just got done. All we want to do is check it out from when it's on the dyno, which everything looked really good. But we did do a couple upgrades while we had it at the shop too. The oil pressure was dropping off a little bit at the top end. We don't know for sure why, but we suspect that it might have been oil drain back, but it might have been the windage too. So we put a windage tray in there for him, and we put oil drain backs in there for him, and we put an 80-pound spring in the pump too. So hopefully we're good to go now.
You know, like me and Don were talking earlier too, a dyno pull lasts longer than a drag strip run. So, you're out there about 15 seconds of wide open.
Yep. So, and it's going to suck the pan dry maybe. So, and probably you won't see it at the racetrack, but definitely on the dyno you will.
Yep.
But yeah, so anyway, I'll let Joe share the horsepower numbers with you guys. I don't even remember what it did actually. Did you write them down? I hope.
Yeah, every pull was over 700,
Nice.
and I think the highest was 737, and I think that was one of it. We were on a great pull there when we had to back off because the oil pressure started going down.
Yeah.
we were a little worried about.
Now those were corrected numbers, weren't they?
That was the incorrect.
Okay. Yeah.
It was, which was doing better that day
Yeah.
than the corrected numbers.
Right.
We had some good air.
Yep. So it's going to be a beast. It just and we had trouble too with the carburetor overflowing. I don't know what that was all about. I took the carburetor all apart and everything looks good inside, and the float's not hanging up, and the needle and seats are good, and they're free. So it could have been something that was going on the dyno. We don't know, but
I think that particular carburetor doesn't need as much
fuel
pressure is what we were throwing into it.
Yeah, we were putting some pressure to it. I mean, I think it was like, man, it was up there. It was like 9 psi or something.
Well, before we get too far into it, what is the combo and what will it be going in, Joe?
All right. It's going to go into my 72 Le Mans, and guys haven't realized I got 2 Le Manses. It even throws my sister off from time to time when she sees pictures or sees me.
Well, they're
video
both black
run.
too, aren't they?
They're both black. One's the one that's going in is kind of beat up, but it's caged up. I'm not limited. It's got better safety equipment and stuff, so I want to put the 5 down in there. Eventually, it's going to go back into 71, which is a pretty car. It's got a good paint job. And
Yeah,
full interior.
that one's got the shiny. The other one's dull, isn't it?
Yeah, the other one's dull.
All right.
And it's
Both black, but he got
scratched
shiny and a dull one.
and dented and scratched. And
That's my favorite one, though.
it's nice to work around. I ain't got to worry about scratching anything.
That's right.
Now the engine 535, and then Dyna sported the heads on that, and they're not max sported, but
They're opened up.
They're up there.
Yep.
And those are Rammer 5 heads, right?
That's Ram Air 5 head. We're running
Good.
right around 11-to-1 compression in it, and right at 800 lift.
Yeah. Yep. Just under it.
And,
So, yep.
Don picked me out of cam. This particular combo, I kind of turned him a little loose on. I go, this is going to be more of a bracket race combo. before when we had the Ram Air 5 heads on, we can talk about that too, because I got a comparison of
Yep.
how much better the Ram Air 5 was than my HO head.
That 455 was a pretty stout little motor.
It was
though.
stout. I'm still just so bummed that we had a part failure on that one.
Yeah, we had a lifter failure on that, which sucked. The axle either seized up or the wheel or something.
Wheel looked like it wasn't heated
Yeah.
properly, and they ended up taking out the block. Too,
That happened,
so.
what, 4 years ago?
No, that's a little, well,
5
COVID
years.
put us all in. We
yeah.
lost
Yeah,
time too.
exactly. That was the other thing too. Yeah, we couldn't get parts for a long, long time to fix it.
Yep.
So we were using a hydraulic roller type profile in this 535. It's got softer ramps on it. We can run less valve spring pressure. It should last.
Yeah, the valve
gotta
spring
be,
pressure is way down. We're only about 190 on the seat. So
Got to be reliable and consistent. It's going to be a bracket race. So I told Don this particular one's going to be 90% strip, 10% street.
Street.
You know,
Nice.
I can go to a couple car shows. I got a couple that are only 5 miles away, or if I'm taking it on the street, it's because I'm getting it ready to run on the strip. Make sure everything's good to go.
do you live out in the country?
I
do
do
you?
live in the
Yeah.
country.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
Perfect.
cool. So you can go out and blast it if you want to.
So, and Don, the intake was ported. I got that from Rick Ferrara, and he went a different route, and I don't want to talk about his until he can show it to everybody.
Right.
He went a different route with his intake, so I picked up the intake, so Don had the chore of matching up the heads to that intake, which was pretty hogged out.
Yeah, it was.
So,
Yeah, it was. He had it welded up and moved it out so
Yeah.
much that we had to open up the port on Joe's head to like this big.
it's big stuff.
Right.
Yeah, flow numbers. I mean, if you want to list the flow,
The flow numbers on
It
yours.
gets into cross section is more important, all that stuff. Let's just say everything Don did, it kept getting better flow numbers,
Yep.
as he dug into them. So
Yeah, they flew about 460, I think.
yeah, hit the valve lift.
Yep.
Yep. So
So that's a pretty good head. And we just got to get the,
What else,
just
you
keep
built-
tweaking it.
you built the headers for it.
Yep.
I think they're two and an eighth, stepped up to 2.5.
2 1/4, I think. Yep.
Something. They're
Yep.
pretty good size headers.
Yep.
This 3.5-inch collector.
Yep. It's got a nice header on it. But yeah, so that and your compression's right around 11 to 1.
11 to 1. Yeah. It's
Yep.
pump gas.
Yep. Aluminum head you can run pump gas 11 to 1.
Yeah, everything I build anymore is pump gas. I got away from the racing fuel deal.
And we
a while
dynoed with
back.
pump gas too, didn't
Yes.
we? That was 93
Yeah, that was
octane.
93. I brought it
Yep.
from my home gas station and everything
Okay.
because I wanted.
Make sure it's accurate.
Yeah, that's what
Yep.
I'm going to use, and that's what we're going to tune it to.
What was the? How big is that carburetor we're using on that?
It's well. I was talking to Brandon about that earlier.
you.
All my custom, I've run custom carburetors for a lot of years, and they must round them up and stuff when they tell you you're buying 1150 or whatever. All of mine, you look at the sheet, they're bigger than that. So mine's I think it's 1335.
Oh, okay.
Is what they spec.
I was thinking it was even bigger than that, but okay, good. Well, that makes sense then.
So, and then we tried. Jude's had he was told it was a 1400, a dyno carb that he had there. He got on a project in that BLP. The one I have built is a BLP, and Jude's had a pro system, and that BLP
Performed it.
outperformed at like 20 horsepower throughout the range.
Yeah.
We had some ups and downs with that carburetor in the dyno pole because it was flooding from time to time on, pulling some fuel out.
Yeah, so what was happening when we were dynoing Joe's engine, even with the BLP, the thing it was flooding over so bad because we were having trouble with the fuel pressure on the dyno. So and that affects the horsepower so big. I mean, we don't really honestly know what the engine will make, but at least we got some dyno numbers. We got to find out kind of where the torque peak was and
Yeah, we know pretty much where the horsepower where it made peak, where it stayed consistent on that, and it stayed pretty consistent with the torque numbers too.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I can get proper converter. Everything's going to be matched. You guys are new to that. New to this. You got to talk to people or blog. As far as getting your gear in, your tire size, everything's got to
be right.
Be in line. The last time I had it in the car, what was it, 3 years? 3 years ago.
At least.
2 years. I didn't run last year. It was the year before.
Yep.
I told my buddies, we took it to the strip, and I'm like, I'm going to show you how you kill a 9-second car with the wrong carburetor, wrong converter, wrong gear. And it come out with 1040s out of the box, so.
That was pretty good.
With all that. Not right. I didn't have the money at the particular time. I wasn't getting the overtime at work to
get
buy
the parts.
to get the stuff done.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I really wanted to get the converter and the carb. I ended up getting a converter, but I didn't get the carb until we found we had issues.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see how much slip I would have in the converter to actually see what kind of gear I wanted to go to. And people don't realize that, with torque converters, if you're new to this, torque converters have a certain amount of slip in them.
Yep.
And it can either help you or hurt you.
Yep.
Some cars that are under geared that need to RPM more, if you got more slip, then it's going to help you. But, a lot of times...
Now they got those torque converters that come apart and you can tune them and everything too now.
Yeah, my buddy kept going, you need to get one of those, man.
Yeah, they're only $3,000.
They're a big bucks.
Yeah.
They actually have guys trade them in. That's what he goes. They call them up. Maybe they got one that's
Every once in a while you see one on Marketplace or something, but I'm always afraid to buy it because you don't know if they bought that converter, it's been abused. It's been behind a nitrous engine or a turbo engine.
Supposedly they're all rebuildable.
Yeah.
They are, but if you get it and it's all wore out and you spend $2,000 on it, you got to spend another $2,000 getting it fixed. You didn't save any money. It cost you more money.
Took some notes too. So you were talking about carburetors. Two podcasts ago. Well, anyways.
Yep.
Me and Don are a fan of Quickfield, and then Quickfield was bought by Halley. I haven't ran one since then. Of course, I'm BLP.
I love
now,
BLP
but,
carburetors. Those are awesome.
Quickfield's been my best off the shelf. I've ran a couple of those, and they work really well.
Those are
Quickfield.
incredible carburetors, yeah.
So, ATM. It's ATM Innovation. That's the new Quickfield. His daughter started that company. Maybe that's how they
Really?
beat it around. So they got a good price on them. My buddy's got a speed shop, and that's all he deals. When somebody comes
That's
in.
you were telling me about them
Yeah,
guys. So
and
that's who was Quickfield
And he
before.
goes,
Okay.
none of his customers. He knows how to help them out, pick the right carb too. He says nobody has complained about that carburetor.
Nice.
And I looked at him. I played with him up in his shop. And they look quality. So
Okay.
and, they start out like a 650 in the 600 range. So
wow.
I looked at one. I think an 850 was like 700 in the 700 range. That's not bad.
No.
So
No.
No,
Those are
carburetors
pre-COVID
are
prices.
expensive.
yeah, pretty much.
Those are pre-COVID prices.
Yeah.
I wanted to let you guys know that. Not that I'm getting paid by them or anything.
Right? But yeah, no, that's a good
you
tip for
gotta
everybody.
save some money here and
Well, it's
get
expensive.
quality stuff. I prefer having custom carburetors done and converters.
Right?
And if you do that, one thing you got to be, and that's even having, somebody building your motor, you got to be honest about how you drive your car.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
And you got to be honest about the horsepower too.
well, the
Some
people
guys-
just throw out numbers. And I wanted to
Yeah.
get with that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But how you actually drive the car.
Mm-hmm.
You say street strip, man. I mean, my street strip is it's 50% strip and 50% street, where
Right.
somebody might go one time a year.
Right.
And you want it built to how you mainly drive it, and you'll be more happy that
Right.
way. And then And we could talk about, well, I was like, you threw out numbers about your project. You guys were talking about combination. Like, I want 700 horsepower. And then your dad worked you down late. Now, I tried to comment it later. You go, well, how fast you want the car to be? Well, I want to run 10s. And I'm going, well, I figured out and mathed it out real quick. I go, that car is probably only going to be maybe 3,500 pounds. It's probably about
Max.
34.
Yep.
I go, you only need 550 horsepower.
Exactly.
And you go, and at that, I ran the numbers the other day just for
Shits and giggles.
Shits and giggles. And,
Yeah.
that would get you into 1050s at 126.
Yeah.
That would be
A
fun
real
street.
550 horsepower.
And
Not a dyno queen.
yeah, exactly.
All right.
And you said you wanted to sound your dad knows how to cut the cam.
Uh-huh.
You know,
We'll get it. We'll get the
know,
sound he wants.
you get that
Yep.
109 separation in there.
Yeah.
It'll sound good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What separations in that cam?
110. Or no,
110?
is that the hydraulic flat tappet?
Yeah.
Oh, that one's got a 108.
Oh, okay.
See, they
Yeah.
sound,
Oh,
they'll
yeah.
sound good.
Yep, 108's good.
Because that's, well, Jamie loves the sound of that.
Yeah.
Like, Mom's Firebird sounds good. And that has a higher, or that has a closer, or
Now you talking about with
more
the Raymer
spread.
5-inch?
Yeah.
It's got 250, 259 with a 109.
Yeah, that's a 109. That was the same cam I had on my
Yeah.
initial.
Yeah.
I like that cam.
Yeah, I do too. And if I was to go more back to street driving with the Ram Air 5, I'd do that cam with,
Yep.
a good 750 lift or so,
Yep.
get into the head,
It makes killer
But
torque.
it would run really good. that way.
Yeah.
I just have to make sure the car rocks a little for
Which
just
will.
keep the wife happy.
We'll get into that. Yeah.
She likes them
gotta
to
get
jiggle a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing, if you get a chance and you're building your cars, if you can weigh it,
Yeah.
your car's heavier than what you think it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, I have scales, so if you ever ask me about a combo, you message me or whatever, I give you the weight.
He's got
That's
lots
the
of
weight.
cars too. He's
Yeah.
weighed a lot of cars.
Yeah. That's the weight. My buddy, I just telling Don about his 71 or 72 Ventura. So it's that Nova body style, and he has.
What's his name again?
That's Dave Popovich.
Yeah.
The Angry
He's-
Pumpkin.
He's got
Angry
the
Pumpkin.
Angry Pumpkin. You can
He'll
follow
be-
him on Facebook.
Yeah, he'll be at the Nationals.
Yep.
His car weighs, with him in it and everything, fueled up and everything, over 3,700 pounds. I would never guess that car.
I wouldn't have guessed that either with that. But that does it have the big bumpers on it?
He hasn't cut any weight. He's got a fiberglass hood.
Okay.
And
Because if
then-
it's got those big the crash bumpers on it, they're heavy.
Yeah. Then he's got the
I'm amazed your car.
he's got the aftermarket block.
Oh, and that's heavier too.
That's,
Yeah, the
that
iron.
added weight. He figured he had some cubic inch to it when he redid his motor. He went up. He was like in the 490 range, and he used the cam that came out, the same heads. He used everything to put it on bigger cubic inch and it run the same as the other one. I go. Once he weighed it, I go, well, there went your,
Yeah,
you gained 90 pounds. There
But
went your
yeah, so
extra
you lost
power.
that extra 15 horsepower.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Well, it could be too. You know what? I did that same thing. I went from a 455 to a 510, and I gained nothing. As a matter of fact, my car slowed down, and I think it was because of cylinder head. I just didn't have enough head.
and his probably, I think he's got 330.
Yeah.
Head. It probably needs more.
I needed a bigger port. I mean, the CFM would have been okay, but like that's why we're doing the engine we're doing now. That Ram Air 4 head, I made it a big port.
And
a wide port.
I've told a few people, maybe hold off for now because, as far as doing any, Don's got this head coming. It's
You
going.
got your first customer that wants to know, Mark Marshall. He has a 79 TA, aluminum block, heads, intake headers, TKX, aluminum drive shaft, 12 volt, no spare or jack. What does that combo weigh?
What's your
what year
trans?
79.
Oh, about 3,700 pounds.
Yeah, they're not light.
Even with the aluminum motor,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're heavy cars.
With the driver, it's going to
You'd
be
really-
3,900
yeah,
almost.
You'd
Yeah.
be real surprised. My Le Mans Sport, that's my 71. The GT's with the 5 is going in. The 5 weighs just like 5 pounds under 3,600. And I might throw, 5 pounds of weight. I'm gonna level
You
out.
wanted to make it even.
Just so it is, so everybody know when I say
Yep.
that it's that. The sport, the heaviest it was when I had the Ram Air 5 heads on it, and that's got full interior, everything's power steering, power brakes. It's got all.
That's
It's got
got
all
to be a
the
heavy
stuff.
weight.
It was 3863, and I got it.
Is
down.
that with you or without you?
That's with me.
Oh,
And 10
really?
gallons of fuel. I always try to weigh it with 10 gallons of fuel too. So,
Okay. I would have guessed it heavier than that, actually.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was going to be heavier, but it weighs. I got it down now. It's about 3750 with the Eldebrock heads. What else? Oh, the fiberglass hood cut 90 pounds off it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I had a 72 Le Mans GT with a 455 HO and a 12-bolt, full interior, all steel car, the factory front bumper and everything. And I weighed that car with me in it. It weighed 4,180 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, it was heavy.
Dakota's timeout. He has a 74 Trans Am with aluminum heads and intake, and his is 3750 without him in
Yep.
it and a full tank of gas.
They're pretty common, though, that second generation TA, anyways, about the 3,700 pound mark.
No.
It's pretty common for those. And you start getting into fiberglass parts, and you start taking out interior and all that, and then they start lightening up. But they're pretty stout car. And then we add safety equipment.
Yeah. So you put a roll bar
you
and
put a
safety
roll bar
loop
and
and
then, that's where I went up with the 5 because I had put the roll bar because I previously I didn't have a roll bar and then I put more stouter suspension stuff,
it gets
control
heavy.
arms and all that.
Well,
good
depending
stuff.
on what tire you go with too, that will add a little bit more.
Oh yeah, rims.
Yeah.
I weighed. I got them scales. I weigh everything, and then somewhere down there, I had the new honeycomb. I weighed that. I weighed my Rally 2s with the tires they had, and I weighed my weld wheels that I raced with. And like you said, huge difference in weight.
Yep.
So that's what I had on my 72 is the actual rubber honeycomb.
Yeah, those are heavy.
That are real heavy. And
I had the aftermarket one, and what was actually heavier, Rick had, I said, due to a tire, but he had Rally 2s widened in the back, and then the front ones were cut down, but those damn things were heavy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Rally 2 wheels are real heavy.
He cut them down, so you had skinnies and fats,
Right.
I got them from him. And
Rick
so,
likes to do all that, but I don't think he's ever had a car together. has he?
dude,
I love my buddy
we're
Rick,
gonna
but,
rag on him.
Or Rick.
but you know what? Rick's got a hell of a nice car.
You
he's
know,
putting
you
together
know
right now.
who really rags on him? His best friend from high school, which I work with.
Mike?
He is retired. This is another Rick.
Oh, okay.
And he keeps going, "Hey, you're getting profit sharing. I'm gonna tell Rick you want to buy his Ram Air 5." I go, "Yeah, I need to." You're ready for it? 'Cause I bought.
You bought
motors,
everything else from him. You might as well
rear
buy it
ends,
too.
I got all kinds of stuff
Rick will
on it.
get that one done eventually.
Mike Polson wants to know how many cases of beer were in your car when you weighed it, Dad.
None, because I took them all out and put them on my pit spot. But yeah, no, that's 72 was heavy on my car. But I had AC on it, had the honeycomb wheels.
AC adds a lot.
Yeah, it was all original car, but it ran 1360s. It was
My
fast.
GT, it's not stripped down. That's all steel except the hood, and I got the back seat out of it, but it's fully got full roll cage in it. It doesn't have like a funny car style, but it's full roll cage in it, and it's got power windows. That's kind of
Yeah,
nice. It's
yeah,
still got power windows. I want to take them out and put it in the other car. Actually.
That is nice. I had that in my one race car. I love them things.
Yeah,
Yep.
you just hit that bad boy as soon as you.
Yes, that
get
way you
over-
can run
over
both
the-
windows down. You cool
Yes.
off. Yep.
All right, let's talk about the original Ram Air 5. I took a lot of notes.
Yeah,
so
yeah, the
I can refer.
455. What was the cubic inch on that? That was 460?
It was a 10 over 455, so it was 458.
Okay, so it wasn't even 460 cubic
No,
inches.
no.
Okay.
So
And that thing was a beast.
It had HO heads on it. I bought that from Rick, and he dynoed it and stuff. That was one of his motors. And it had HO heads. They were ported, but not. They were only 250.
Right.
He had a solid roller in it, and it was 250, 260 duration. And yeah, go ahead and bring me one. 620, you know, after lash. It made
Thank you.
540 horsepower and 556 pound torque. That's not bad.
No, not for an iron
No,
head.
and it was 9.4 to 1 compression.
Yeah.
Pump gas.
That was actually a
Deal.
real stout motor.
He ported out the intake really good. The intake outflowed the heads actually. So I ran it for a season. It had dyno time on it, and I brought it to Don. I go, okay, let's put some Ram Air 5 heads on this bad boy. And I told him, I go, this thing's going to be street strip at 50-50. You know, I'm gonna drive it, but I'm gonna and
I'll
run 10 events a year. You know, so
He races a lot.
I'll go as much.
Joe's a hell of a driver too. I mean, he wins
I
a lot.
try.
What was the
Yeah.
RPM that you were shifting that thing at?
You know, I got the 5? Or
Yeah, the 5.
The 5, I just guessed at that point because we never dynoed it or anything, so I was shifting at 7,000.
And what was you shifting?
But let me
at
give you
HO?
the whole rundown on
Okay,
that.
yeah.
So we put, Don chose the cam, and it was a hydraulic roller profile.
Yep.
250, 259. So the other one, the HO had 250, 260.
Yeah.
So very
very
comparable.
similar.
The HO was 110. We put a 109.
Yep.
And then we were running about, I think, 720 lift on that.
Yep.
And it basically was zero lash.
Yeah,
'Cause it was a
right. The hydraulic roller. Yeah, it was
Now,
solid.
do you think that higher lift caused, or the lifter failed?
No, just
Lifter just failed.
It was because we were getting Chinese.
I'll tell you about that too. And I'm not gonna. I don't know if I should mention. We don't throw names.
Right. We won't mention
out
the
on-
company name,
Yeah.
but we can tell them
No,
why it
but,
happened. Yeah.
So on the dyno that made, and so we did just the top end. Don cleaned up the heads; they weren't ported.
No.
You just kind
Just a
of massaged
bowl,
them, you
yeah.
know, cleaned
Yep.
up the flash, you know, all the and port matched the intake to it. It had the flat top on it. We had a 1-inch spacer, and that was pretty much it. We did a
Yeah.
top end job. It fit right on. We didn't have because you changed the valve angle. We didn't have no
Yeah.
clearance
It
issue.
could have had a flat top piston. Didn't even need
Yeah,
release.
we weren't even close to the. So that was cool. That was kind of the first just head swap, and we found that there was going to be no issue with the valves hitting the pistons or
Yeah.
anything using your current ones that you had.
Yeah, yours was one of the first ones we did that
Yeah.
with.
And what else did we just did the top end on that?
And yep, and pretty much. And then
It never was done. Then we took it to the dyno.
And what carburetor?
All right, we started out with a Pro Systems 1150 that I had that was spec'd for another motor, which I figured would work out pretty good. It was for my E-Head 469.
Right.
That's a 340 CFM head. I mean, with a
Yeah.
stout roller. It was made for that motor, but it did not like this Ram Air 5.
Not even a little
And
bit.
we tried and tried. We thought other things were going on. We checked valve lash. We changed plugs. We did. We
went
probably
through a
made-
litany of things. Yeah.
we probably made 8 pulls, and finally, my buddy Mike, he was smart enough to bring his BLP
Thank God.
with him, which I thought was just going to be a disaster because it's only 458. If you do go to any calculator, what that motor would need, as far as in a race configuration, be 1150,
Yeah.
and like street strip about 1,000 CFM. You go on Holly's site and put in the RPM it's going to run. Now it's even running putting in like 7,500.
Right.
Because it's small cubic inch. Mm-hmm. His carburetor came straight off his 535 that ran 940s. And I think it is over 1,200 CFM. We bolted that on, And just immediately, we all just looked at. We didn't even look at the numbers. We just looked at each other because the motor just loved it. It just took. It was
Sounded totally different.
Great
Yeah,
pull. Yeah. And we were running low 600. We went 684. Boom. And the dyno already goes, there's your horsepower. He'd asked me what I hoped to see. I'd hope we could start working with if I got out here with 650 and knowing I can start working with that. I go, we should be able to get 700 out of this, but I go, I don't count on doing that today, you know. Yeah, so we was 684 was the max, and it had 610 foot-pounds of torque, and that was at 5,300.
Yeah.
And it made the horsepower at 6,400.
Yeah, which is low for that.
So I was probably over shifting, you know, at Norwalk, but
no. So you did the 455 or the HO heads made how much? 540.
540.
Okay.
So 684. I think I figured that out first.
So just
so
swapping the heads,
that.
you picked up over 100 horsepower.
Yeah. 144. I
That's
mapped it out,
crazy.
so it could,
Yeah.
54 foot-pounds of torque.
That
That's
is
day and
nuts.
night stuff.
Yeah.
And it was in the car too, driving.
And yet that's what I'm talking about with CSA. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Now, obviously, the heads flowed more CFM too, but that was, you know, at that lift that you were at, it was probably only 360, and your HO heads were what, 250? You said 250, 260.
250, 250 range. Yeah.
I think Rick said they were like 250, almost 260.
250.
Yeah.
Yeah, with where the cam was, because they flowed a little more like at 700, but he didn't put it.
Yeah.
He didn't put a
Didn't have
700.
that kind of lift.
He didn't
in
put
it.
that kind of
Well,
lift.
what's
in it.
really impressive is you literally just bolt on heads and intake.
Yeah, and it was a point more in compression, so we got to
Yeah.
add that too. We did.
But
add
that was
some
aluminum versus iron, so it was
Yeah.
almost equivalent. So,
Yep.
yeah.
So
and-
for the bang for your buck, I mean, you couldn't go wrong with that.
No.
No,
That was a lot of horsepower gain for that.
no, and it unfortunately, I had a custom-made carburetor done for BLP, and I was working on this because I was throwing belts. I had a belt. That was an actual alignment problem.
Yeah.
We were working on. I was working on it in the field, and that was when it was in August. It was like 95 and something. My buddy Mike McCarty's helping me, and you know the Raymond crew come by, and I mean we were all eyeballing and trying to get it straightened out because I couldn't keep the belt. I had was that CVF?
CVF, yeah.
Yeah, I got Serpentine's belt on.
Okay.
And you weren't getting that particular belt. Not every auto parts store had it. So I was down.
It's an
to-
A-rib belt.
I had two belts. I ended up eating up one, and I had one. We finally got we got straightened out, but or it stayed on. But the carburetor, I hadn't been down the strip with the carburetor. The carburetor had when I hit it at the line, it fell right on its face, and almost would stall. I was 60 foot and 1.8, 1.7.
That is horrible, you guys. You don't even know how bad that is.
So it was killing ET. So I was still running in the 11 teens. After the fastest that I did get it, I started loading up the converter as much as I could, and my converter was built for the streets, so it starts pushing the wheels at about 2,500, so I could only get so much out of it. And it was a 390 gear at the time.
Yeah, which
The
is
gear
not right.
Gear wasn't. It needed more gear at that. So I did get 1111 in a bracket round, letting off one time. But I ran like a 1.660 foot. I mean, that's how much 60 foot made.
Yeah.
Practice rounds, you only get a couple there. I mile per hour, the best 124. You take that and you put that in the calculator. That was good. That's good for like 1070, 1060
Yep,
range.
exactly.
If I would have actually could have 60 footed in the 1.4 like I
Right.
should have done.
Right. 60 foot is everything for ET.
It was so consistent on that hesitation. Second
You
day,
can dial at 1120, huh?
I dialed like 1111.
Oh, did you?
I think 1114. I think, but I took it all the way to semifinals.
Yeah.
And the only reason I got out, the dang starter hung up. It put me out.
I remember
So
that.
I didn't run it
Yeah.
on Sunday. I was just done. I wanted to enjoy my time. I worked on that car hours. And my buddy Tim Korsiak, he never even got to ride in it before it broke the lifter. And he put in hours. I felt so bad. So we got to 535 in the GT. I got it fired up. I go, get in. You're going for a ride.
Right now.
If something goes sideways, you got to say you rode in a Ram Air 5 car.
Right.
You know, with all the work he put in, you know, it just.
Tim's a great guy,
Yeah,
too.
he's
You guys have
great.
a really good group of guys.
Yeah.
And we all met through, you know, the Pontiac name brand.
Yeah, they met at the racetrack,
great.
didn't you? Or at the cruisins or
me
something?
and Tim, we met at cruising, and my buddy Jeff came down one time with me. He had 455 HO. That car was like showroom, and he bought it straight out of high school.
Wow.
And we street raced the shit out of that car. It had 390 gears in it, and it would do. Yeah, on the marked quarter street.
Yeah, on the street we
street.
marked off. Yep.
Yeah, it was on 105 plus.
Wow.
And it had been freshened up. It had the factory cam and everything, and that
That's
just
crazy.
sold me, man.
Yep.
And I always liked the 71, 72. My first car was a 72 Le Mans, and I was street racing that. And that one ran 1440. I got it worked out 1440 with a 350 back in the day, you know. And
That's how we all get started, man.
yeah, you know, Jeff's car ran low 13s.
Yeah.
It was, he beat. If it was a street car,
He beat it.
We ran 440 Mopar, whatever. He beat him.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it was outstanding. The only cars that beat him, I grew up in the 80s, so that's like 83, 84. Nitrous is really coming on. That's the only guys that could
Yep.
get him on the street with nitrous cars. Or something that was a full-on race car. You
Back then, you know, if you had a 12-second street car, that was fast.
know? Yeah, it was fast.
That was really fast.
My first drag car, I bought it. It was a proven car. It was turnkey. It was 1180 car, and that was in 1987.
Yeah.
And it was almost all Pontiac. That was what's amazing about it. And I had talked to, I built up my 72 GTO, and then I bought this. But Warrior Racing was in Michigan.
Yeah.
Go to the Hunt Brothers. Go down
Yep.
there. It was cool. You go walk in there and just come out with all your Pontiac stuff. You know,
They were a big-time
had
Pontiac
rods,
dealer back
and
then.
I had a Warrior intake I got from them. You know, I waited for that. I paid like $320.
That was
back
crazy
in the
money back
80s.
then. Yeah, I know.
You know, like you said, rods. I
Oh,
ended
you
up
didn't.
finding some guy, Rick lined that up. Some guy, he went around to swap meets and buy and sell, but he found somebody that was backdooring rods. I got a set of SD rods for $450.
Wow.
So these guys
I
are all,
had SD rods. Yeah,
these guys are all from Michigan, around the Detroit area, and
Yeah.
I tell you right now, I bought a pallet of Ram Air 5. Well, they were Kellogg. I don't know if they were Ram Air 5s, but a pallet full of forged crankshafts for Pontiacs. They were all raw though. None of them were machined. And I didn't ask no questions. I just bought the whole pallet.
Yeah, so first time I took that car out, my 67, and I was 67 Tempest. Now that one probably, I would estimate that car, I never weighed it, but that one was like 3,400 pounds, I would bet. There was nothing to that car. And when going down the strip, I put, eventually I had like the Morosa racing springs in the
Yeah,
front and
that's
stuff.
what we all did.
That
Yep.
damn thing felt like 100 miles an hour, like I was driving a Chevette. I mean, it was barely touching at that speed.
Yeah, real light on the steering wheel.
It didn't feel very safe at all.
Yeah, that's not good.
And I worked that car down. I bought it, and I did. And guys, start building the car too. You newbies, start running your car.
Yeah.
With the factory motor, like you got a 77 Trans Am, start running it.
Yep.
And then start putting suspension shit in.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference.
And get that worked out, because you can put as much horsepower as you want. If you can't get the hook up, then
It don't matter.
It don't matter. So, and suspension shit is way cheaper than engine stuff.
Yes,
Yep.
it is. Yes, it is.
So start
and
getting
you're going to need it eventually
You're
anyway.
gonna need it. So we all end up doing it, and then we're blowing the tires off. Now I got to go. I done spent my fortune on the motor, and now I got to go get out the credit card and get some suspension stuff. You know what I mean, it happens that way.
And if you don't do it to like a leaf spring car, it'll twist the rear end housing. It'll twist the leaf springs. Ask Luke, my nephew. He did that last time we were in Norwalk.
Subframe connectors in those cars.
Ask Luke about that,
but
too.
all that stuff is, like I said, it's a lot cheaper than engine stuff.
And it makes a huge difference, too.
So I bought the car from that guy, and he had ran 3 different. And back then, we didn't have track prep like they could get now.
Not like you get,
And 3 different tracks. So the fastest track it ran 1180. He had all the slips. He gave me 1180, and then the other track ran 1190, and then a 12.0 at my local track. So I bought it. I had bought all this traction stuff from my 72 Le Mans. I put it all in there, and I took it to the shitty track. I ran 11.
So you knew you were on something, all right?
And it would have went faster. I had he had cast rods in it, so I had a 6,000 rev limiter chip in it, and I was hitting that 100 feet out. It probably would have went about 1160 or so.
Yeah.
Then so I don't trust anybody. As far as the motor, I sold the motor to my buddy Jeff, which he bought my 72 GTO. We put it in there, and that thing ran like 1220s or something. In that car, we put a Ram Air 4 cam. I took the cam. That's the only thing. I kept the cam. I gave him some of the rest, and we put a Ram Air 4 cam.
That was the hot ticket back then. That's what everybody ran, Ram Air 4 cam.
The hot, if you wanted to run low 12s, and I had a buddy, he built like 370 to 72. He liked them HO Trans Ams.
Right.
So he'd weighed him, and so that's why I kind of know this weight, And he would take 455, a 30-old 455, Ram Air 4 cam, put D-port 400 heads on it, 16, 62s.
So you got 9.5 to 1 compression.
Unported.
Yep.
Put that original torquer.
Yep.
A 750 and headers and a 390 gear. You were guaranteed to run 12 20s.
Yep. Exactly.
Faster.
Yep.
And,
Without a ported head.
And he would do that. He'd come down to where we were drag racing, down the street racing, and just kick some ass.
Yeah.
And we had a buddy that had the SD too. He'd come down and just
Those are
roll
badass.
everybody.
Those are badass.
He did too. At one time, I think he put Ram Air 4s on the SD block with a bigger cam. That thing smoked too because the compression jumped up.
Yeah, that Ram Air 4 cam, that was the go-to cam for a lot of years.
The only problem with that whole combo, putting the 400 heads, you were running race fuel.
Right, right.
But man, we run factory rocker arms. And,
that's all we had.
Yeah.
Cast rods and TRW pistons.
Well, Harlan Sharp wasn't out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were out since the 50s.
They were out, but
I mean, they were out for a long time. But thing of it is we didn't have any money.
I was just getting in. I had just graduated and stuff.
I just because I've seen the stickers on your car and everything, but I really didn't pay attention to like comp cams. You had stickers on from comp cams back in the day,
right?
But I didn't see any Harlan Sharp stickers until like early '90s, whenever you started running.
No, they were around since the 50s.
They were around,
Actually, the guy's name, it's not, Harlan is his first name, but I don't know what his last name was.
Sure.
probably outside somebody else.
I think they were partners, and I think that was his partner's last name or something. So, Harlan was the other guy, and then Sharp was the other. But
my 67 though, so I went through it, and it was wild. My buddy who worked at a machine shop, him and we were doing drag racing together, and he goes, "Hey, come by at 5 o'clock. Boss is gone." And we snuck my block in. Him and we met in college. We were taking automotive classes, so we had engine rebuilding classes together. And he ended up in a machine shop, and I ended up working elsewhere. But and we end up meeting back up through our wives' work together. So
it's a small world.
So small world. So anyways, he goes, "God, bring it." At this time we sneaked my block in. Man, we threw it on the machine. This was cool. I got to do
some of the work,
all the shit to it.
Yep.
We put my crank on the machine. We turned it, and then I got the I got the SD rods. I built that one, man, cheap, man. And then I got the block from Rick. I got
You know what? So if you
got
guys
the
want
heads
spare
from Rick.
parts, you need to buy them from Rick because Rick buys a lot of stuff.
I got the heads from Rick. That was his first motor he built, and it.
Did he ever have a car he put that stuff in?
Yeah, he ran
Did
that
he?
one.
Okay.
He ran
'cause
that one.
He never talked about it.
And then he
either.
just, he wanted to go around. It's typical. I've said many times, I go, Don would have come up with these Ram Air 5s in like 80s. I never had to bought another head.
Right.
You can port it a little bit, just go bare cam. Just keep going faster.
You just
know?
keep
I
going
mean,
faster and
We
faster.
started down, we started out with D port. Then we poured them, hand poured.
Yeah.
Then we went to Ram port. Then we imported those.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
and then
Edelbrock came out. Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, we just-
went through the whole gambit, and that's a lot of damn money to the
Yes,
years.
it is.
Yep.
And then I came out with the Tiger Head.
Yeah.
And whenever the Tiger Heads
That's
come
when I
out,
first met him.
yeah,
Okay.
those were the king. You know what? When I first came out with those, though, everybody busted my balls because the port was so big, and they
I-
said it wouldn't make no torque.
He brought him into Norwalk, and I went over looking at ads, and I was like way out of my range of what I was. At that point in time, I was in my hiatus of getting a house, doing
Yep. So you didn't have the
job
funds
and all
to
this
do
stuff.
that, yeah.
And for a lot of years, even when I first started was racing my '67, I mean, I had to borrow a truck. I had to go rent a trailer. I
Yeah.
couldn't afford all of it.
Right.
We had to go
Well,
through.
that's
So
why
my
you
car
gotta go
sat
through
for
the
a
steps.
lot of years. The '67 though, I put Rick hand ported the heads. I used and you think about it now, a Lanati camshaft. They still have that on the book. 510, 530 lift is all it had.
Yep.
It was 245, 255.
We used to think that was huge, though.
And I ran 1.5 rockers. We tried 1.6 for some reason when we played it. It was a duration or way the cam was set in there. It was too close to the
Valve
piston.
relief, yeah.
So we didn't put. Rick had some 1.65s. He let me see if I could run them. Luckily we checked it.
Again,
because-
Rick's Parts Store,
yeah. We checked it and it was too close for cause.
248.
But I ended up working that car down to 1120s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And two big things. I had a custom carburetor on that and a custom converter and.
Custom
but-
carburetors are huge. Custom
The
converter
converter,
and
the converter
carburetors are huge.
Actually, you know what? The converter. So that was like late '80s. Dave just took it out of his car. He was running it last year.
Really?
Yeah, still around. Yeah, people stumble about. Oh, they cost so much and whatnot. Like, well,
They're worth
that
every
damn
penny.
thing lasted.
Yeah.
And I still have the transmission. It's
Yeah.
in the car right in the
Yeah.
GT right now.
Well, the converter I'm going to let you use whenever you take your engine home. I've had that thing since the early '80s, and it's a 5500 stall converter Cohen.
Heat kills transmissions, and Dave, he's got a temperature gauge. He put it on. I go, he was kind of torn. Well, I go, this. He drives way more on the street than he does. He might, cause he's our track photographer, so he might hit the track 4 times a year. Maybe 5. And that, like I said, when you're getting custom parts, and I told him, I go, because he had his converter redid that he had, and brought it back, and the car didn't do any different. But other than mine, my 60 better, but it was dropping a lot on the shifts, and that was due to the fact it was designed for
Well, your buddy
street.
Mike McCarty, whenever his converter, until he got that right, that was huge on his.
See,
stuff.
and he was running a 370 gear with his 535, and it needs that motor. He's got the rolling heads,
Right, the
the
CV1 head,
CV1 heads,
which is
and
canted valve
His
head.
is really similar to my Ram Air 5.
Right.
Very similar, camming and all that, and that gear because he wanted to street drive a lot. He chose 370. His converter slips a lot to get it up into the RPM that needs to. The guy nailed it for him,
Yep.
and it took a minute.
He
He ran a lot of 10-0s for a minute, and then all of a sudden he
got the right converter and went what 960,
it's 940s.
940. Yeah,
That's just-
big difference.
And that car, he's one. I think it was the same. Last year, his Catalina won the best superior race car.
Yeah.
That's the second time. He's 63 won it too.
Well, he's got his dad's Catalina, and it is
Yeah.
beautiful. That's a
You know,
beautiful.
I got to
He
drive.
restored that car, didn't he?
He let me drive it. Yeah,
Did he?
restored it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was working on my hood, my cowl hood for the my street car, my 71. And I go, let me take you. He didn't take no money for help me out.
Right.
And because he's a body guy. He goes,
Mike's
No,
a
can I
good guy
take you-
too. I
can I
told
take
you
you
these
to
guys
dinner?
got a big group of friends. They,
can I take you to dinner? He's like, yeah, okay, I'll take you. So I'm buying dinner, and he goes, we'll take the Catalina. I'm like, cool, you know. I hadn't rode in it, and it's 421 tri-power.
Yeah,
It's
doesn't it like
beautiful.
run 13s or
It-
something?
He got it into the 12s one time.
Did
At
he?
Norwalk.
Nice.
Wow.
You
yeah.
know, so Norwalk,
That's a boat. I mean, that's a boat. That thing's huge.
he threw me the keys and let me drive.
Beautiful
it.
car,
I'm like,
though.
man, I'm part of the family here. Like, you know you're in family, you get to drive this bad boy.
Like,
you
it
know?
was his dad's car. and
Yeah,
it was
and
a beautiful
I
car.
sit with
yeah.
his dad. His dad used to come to every Norwalk. Mike has been at every one.
Wow.
I have
Everyone.
too. I've been
And
at every Norwalk.
I think Mike's won like 6 of them.
Has he?
You know,
Yeah.
class wins. I don't think Mike's ever took the king of the hill. It's hard to go up against those trans brake guys. And,
Yeah, yeah,
the
and the
Laybox
boxes.
guys,
Yeah, they got the box. Yeah. So we got any questions for Joe?
yeah,
No,
fire
not really.
away, dang it.
Yeah.
Any street combo questions either? Because my street car, I started out as 12.0, and the last motor before it said goodbye was down to 1050. So
Nice.
a lot of different combos in there. 2 things that's never affected nothing, really. Taking the air cleaner off. You got a good air cleaner, the right size air cleaner. That's never mattered. A good quality exhaust system. Me and Don were talking about that earlier. My full exhaust system on a 1050 car all the way to the bumper. I dumped that off, lost 90 pounds, so it actually went slower.
Because it didn't change.
Yeah, it ran same ET. It picked up a mile an hour, but I lost 90 pounds. So did it take?
Yeah, it should have went quicker.
So-
a tenth quicker.
You
For
know,
every 100 pounds, it's typically a
it
tenth.
was tuned for the exhaust.
Yep.
You know, somebody would argue that, but it should have went faster.
It
That's
should
about
have.
it.
It should have went quicker. Yep.
But,
It did go faster. Should have went quicker.
Yeah, yeah, quicker.
Yeah.
And I've done that in 3 of my combos. And like I said, I use an X pipe. I put 16-inch collector tubes, and then I put the X on there and good mufflers. I've ran 2, I forget what series, 40 series Flowmasters, and now I really like the Ultra Pro Dynamax. That's
Dynamax
what
muffler.
Don uses on his engine test stand. I love the sound of it.
Yep.
You can look through them. They're race mufflers.
They're a kick-ass muffler,
But
and they're quiet.
They quiet it down. They
Yeah.
do sound off at the track, you know, when you're full into it, but you know, they do the job.
Yep.
I've never.
Have you noticed
Let's
any
get
difference
Between the X and not running an X?
Well, I have had
Not really too many questions. They're
bullets.
just bullshitting a lot.
Just
No,
straight
they
pipe,
just
you know,
BS
the
with
They got a
each
couple
other.
extensions
questions
on
for
with
you.
bullets.
Okay.
And that's pretty much like open headers. The X does add low end torque.
Oh, big time.
It does
Big
add low
time.
end torque.
It'll lean your engine out too.
The last time I tried that was on my street car. Now the converter was set up for street driving, so I wasn't 60 like it would if I would have had the right converter in it. But it was running 1050. It was running out the back end, so I dumped it off. I put the 16-inch collectors on, so I had some collector extension on the
Which
header.
makes a big difference too if you're not running exhaust.
So I took the X pipe out and the mufflers, and I left the tailpipes, the weight of the tailpipes in. But I weighed that when I got home because I had to put it back on. It was 90 pounds I cut off. So I
Yeah.
ran that day. I ran 1061, 126 with the exhaust system. Went 1061, 127 without it.
Yeah.
And this is what I always found. I'll pick up mile per hour, but I lose 60 foot. So you're losing torque.
And your ET is determined by the first 300 feet of the racetrack.
It is.
If you're not motoring the first 300 feet, you are not going to ET. That's why whenever I ask somebody, whenever they tell me they're making 600 horsepower, first thing I ask them is, what's your mile an hour and what's your car weigh? I don't give a shit what your ET tells me, because you know what? You could have the wrong gear and converter combo, and the ET is not going to be there. But your mile an hour, it's going to be usually within 3 to 5 mile an hour, even if you got that all screwed up.
Yeah, you're gonna be close on if you're looking at the big end where you're.
Mm-hmm.
That first 60 foot, that was when we go back to Norwalk when I took the car and it was hesitating. It was just killing the ET.
Yeah.
I was mile an hour. It was coming on. It probably would have, maybe if I would have cut a 145 60 foot like it should have, it might have picked up another mile an hour. I don't know.
It probably would have picked up at least a mile an hour. The thing that I've seen, and you may have seen this, and you can verify this for me, if you pick up a tenth of a second in your 60, it's usually worth a tenth and a half, 2 tenths on the quarter mile.
It's like 2.
Yeah, it's almost 2
huge.
tenths.
Until you get to like an 8-second car or something like that. Once you get to that speed,
then it really doesn't affect it much.
And that's like the 100 pounds, cutting 100 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
You can put it in any calculator on down as far as you go. If you cut 100 pounds, it goes a tenth faster.
Yes. And 1 mile an hour
But
faster.
it doesn't when you get into really fast cars, because you're playing with aerodynamics at this point in time. You're pushing so much air. Most of our cars are flying bricks,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you're not going to see as much return on cutting 100 pounds on an 8-second
on an 8-second car, yeah,
as you would a 12-second car. You're going to get that. It's almost it works. You drop that 100 pounds, you're going to gain.
So 100 pounds is worth a tenth. 10 horsepower is worth a tenth until you get to like right around the 990 mark. Then you got to make another 15 horsepower to make it 10.
It starts getting bigger, and I think that's because you're pushing more air.
Yep, I think you're right.
You got that.
The mile an hour is going up. Yep.
So my 458, what ended up happening, I got home from Norwalk. I immediately ordered a whole brand new Moser rear end for it with a 430 gear. I knew I looked at everything, the mile per hour and everything. I'm like, this is what it needs. I was compromising on the converter. Well, I talked to Cohen. Cohen built the converter, and I told him exactly how I go. I'm going to race this as much as I can, but it's going to be driven 3 times a week on the street. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do cruises and all the good fun stuff,
Yep.
And so that compromise, it needed he goes, you realize this is going to hurt your ET, But he goes, whoever I was talking to, the engineer I was talking to, you're street driving it that much, we only suggest 4,500.
Yeah. Well, when you get up even to a 4,500, they slip so much on the street. 35 to 3,800, you don't feel it.
See that? I'm going to tell you, their converters. I got 2 of them that I had built streetwise. It's just like driving in,
a regular
stock
converter.
GTO.
Yeah. Yep.
And I tell you what, I mean, they hook up. You go to do your burnout in the box, 2,000 start spinning tires.
Yeah.
The only way if it flashes, and you can call it stall or flash speed. Flash is full throttle.
Yes.
It's the only way you're going to get that 45 out of
and it has to be in high gear too.
Yep.
Low gear won't do it.
So
a lot of people are misconstrued on torque converters. They don't understand. I tell them you need a 3,500 converter. Oh my God, it's going to take 3,500 RPM to get the car moving? No, it don't work that way.
I tell you what, some off the shelf ones are like that.
Well, the Boss Hog, you don't want that converter. That's terrible.
I had a 3,500 TCI in that my 67. Then it was off the shelf. That's what came in the car, and I wouldn't say that it was. It got all the way to 3,500, but it was
it's
up
stalled up there, yeah.
To even move, you knew you know.
And the reason that is because they base it on a small block Chevy, which makes 0 torque.
Yeah.
Compared to a Pontiac or even a big Chevy. The big Chevys don't make the kind of torque Pontiac engine does, but when you get into a Pontiac engine like a 455 or even 400 Pontiac engine. 400 Pontiac engines from the factory make 430, 440 foot-pounds of torque. You know, a small block Chevy's only making 320,
Right.
330. So they have to loosen that converter up to get that thing to stall with a small block Chevy, and that's who buys most of the converters. So when a Pontiac guy buys a converter, hence the reason why Joe decided to go custom, because then you get what you get a converter built for your accommodation.
And you got to be honest. You got to tell them, man.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't race at the strip and you're a street racer. You're only going to be happy if you tell them how.
Yeah.
You know, and they
don't lie to them.
They do a spec card. Generally, when you're buying a carburetor or whatever, you fill it out. They can build your car after that.
Yes.
They want to know tire size, everything.
Yep.
And they'll tell you sometimes you're talking to them, you got the wrong gear.
Yeah.
For that, you know,
They'll tell you
effort if you're full on street. They're
they
engineers.
don't say
they do
it.
this all day.
They don't say it, but they'll tell you you're full of shit too. How they say it to you is, that torque number doesn't sound right.
Or if you give it.
So.
Now you got to be honest, and a lot of guys, so you get some of these guys that don't want to divulge cam specs. Well, you're not gonna.
You gotta give
tell
them the cam specs.
Now, most of those guys have dynoed, so they can give them the dyno numbers. They can go off the dyno number how to set up the converter.
And that's where the dyno's a tool that actually comes in handy, because then you know where your torque peak is, and that helps the converter company a shitload.
Shit ton.
Yeah.
Shit
So
ton.
They need to know where your
And
torque
then they'll
peak
tell
is.
you, like I said, I had the dyno numbers for the 458, and it would have needed, what would we make torque at?
I think you said 53. Yeah.
53. So they would have needed, like a good 5,000, so.
Typically, you want your torque converter to be
Right
real
there.
close where your torque peak is.
Right there. So,
Just a little bit below. You don't want it at torque peak. You want it just a little below, because when you launch it and it comes up against that torque curve, then it starts to launch the car, once it gets into the peak.
I mean, he was straight up. He goes, you're not going to, you're not going to get your best ET with the converter I'm going to build you. But he goes, I'm not going to sell you anything over 4,500 as much as you drive it.
On the street, yeah.
On the street.
And that kills your mile an hour, too.
Yeah.
So
I put the 430 gear in it. I got one, and I had figured out the carburetor. Got one good blast on the street. I'm like, oh man, this thing. I mean, a Raymare 5, from a driver's perspective, especially the 1-2 shift, is like if you've ever drove a crotch rocket, it revs so quick that the tack is just flying across
it's
the
like,
screen.
bam, 7,000 stays there.
2-3's a little better. You can start seeing that.
Right.
But man, I hit it, and I'm like, whoa, this is it. And my neighbor, he waved me down. He wanted to go for a ride, so I go, hop in. I got to go get some gas. I go, boy, you're going to like this. So I was up underneath the canopy, and somebody come over, and they were looking at the car. I popped the hood. So the car was running. There was no tap.
Really?
No tick in that motor.
It sounded
Sound
good.
normal.
Yeah.
I got it out. We get down the road to my little area where I tear off. I go, hang on, we're going to get this shit on. and I hit it, and I had changed my transmission. Went from forward to reverse pattern. So initially I hit the shifter
Forward.
And
Hit
like I said,
neutral?
I'm shifting at 7,000, so no, it went forward. It wouldn't go into neutral. It's all locked
Okay.
out. But I went forward. I know. It didn't shift. So I pulled it back. When I pulled it back, it hit the rev limiter at 8,000 RPM. Right there, we heard all of a sudden, bang, 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 bang. I'm like, oh man, it's a rod. And we limped it home. I'm like, I was like you, MFer, you're not going to leave me stranded. I drove it home. But what had happened is that little bit of time, we were just underneath that can. If there would have been any
Noise,
lash
you would have
problem
heard
on
it, yeah.
that, that wheel was going at that point.
Yep.
I mean, the hardness had obviously gone. Then when I hit it and hit them RPMs, it burnt that wheel up that quick.
Isn't that crazy?
It kind of mushroomed it, and I'm just guessing what happened at that point. it broke the lifter bore on the other one because it jammed, and then it took out the camshaft and broke my block.
Yep.
And that was only a 10 over block. It's like,
he lost a good block. Yep. Yeah. That.
And I to this day, I still, if I could hit some lottery money, I'd build another one of those because we see how far I could push it.
Yeah. Well,
I think I could have got that down, honestly, to 1040 range.
Well, so to give you kind of a comparison, Danny Eastep, we first started developing this program. He had my engine, my dyno mule, in his car. Yep. Okay, and it was a 455 stock bore, stock stroke, so it was an actual 455.
Yeah, it was 455.
And I miscalculated the compression on it. I thought it was 11.5 to 1. It was 10.3. Had that 250, 259 cam with a 109 lobe separation. Jim Robertson actually dynoed that engine for us down in Texas on pump gas with a 1050 Dominator and my cast intake. He got as much as 770 horsepower out of it. And when we put it in Danny's car, which weighed 2,970 pounds, I think.
That was a race car.
Yeah, so it was a back half GTO. Ran 910 at like 148 or 149 mile an hour. And when you did the math and you did the calculator and everything, it was exactly what Jim dynoed.
You got the horsepower out of it. But you got to get that matchup. I remember him going through gear sets to get there.
He finally he had to change converters and gears to get it there, but he did get it, Yeah,
and he was having those carb issues, too.
Yeah, well, not Danny. I don't think Danny had any carb.
Because I thought he was having the carb issues at Norwalk, and then you let him take it to keep testing. Because he was trying to do the throttle body.
He was using fuel injection, and we switched it back over to carburetors. Yeah, and it actually ran better with the carburetors. Yeah, but but he had to play with the converter and gear, and he was getting it down there. Danny was motoring. I mean, that car was hauling ass, and it. But what ended up happening on it is
we had a lifter fail on that.
We had a lifter fail on it. It was a comp cams lifter. And it was a lifter, and the lifter body broke in two. It didn't seize up the wheel.
That was we compared them against other ones, and the lifter body. There's a spot in there.
And it's just too narrow.
It's really narrow.
Yeah, and it doesn't have a nice chamfer on it. It's like square cut.
He's running, we're RPM.
Oh yeah, that 8,000 RPM. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that. I wouldn't say that wasn't that manufacturers. We were over. They were kind of going over what it was.
What was capable of doing. Yeah, that lifter was never designed to go to that RPM.
Mine just burnt the wheel right off.
Yeah, it actually oblonged the wheel. I remember seeing it. It like I don't know, it like egg shaped it. It was weird.
In a matter of no time.
That's crazy. That's
time.
Just crazy. So,
and I don't know if I had a lifter. We didn't have a lifter bore brace in it. Really don't need it.
I don't think that would have hurt.
Don't need it with the hydraulic, but I don't know what it would have did. We could have saved the block.
Oh, if it wouldn't have broke a lifter bore, yeah. Right, yeah. That happened to my brother Paul. We actually lost the lifter out of the lifter bore, and it broke the cam.
Billet cam, it might have tore a lot more shit up.
Yeah. One of your buddies has that block, or you have it, don't you?
Rick, I gave it back to Rick. I go, man, if you can come up with somebody to weld that up, try to fix it, or he could always use it for a mock-up, And he actually worked with the engine builder at that time, hand in hand built that motor, and it just sucked all around that and died, because
that was like a piece of the family.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
It was. What? We got any questions?
We do have one from Randy about suspension. What would you recommend for a street setup?
What what kind of car?
It didn't say any description or anything.
Is it Randy French or?
Yeah, Randy French.
He's got a 70 Le Mans.
Oh man, you want to get some adjustable upper control arms, and then if you use you want the boxed, or get a tubular lower.
And
that's got good urethane bushings. You want good bushings in that. And then I like for You know, I did really well. I mean, if you're on a budget, I had competition engineering, 3-way adjustable shocks.
Yep. And they're cheap.
They're cheap.
Yep.
And you know, you got three adjustments on them. I pushed them quite a ways, and then if you got a little more money, I like the QA1 double adjustable.
Yeah, those are the best. Yep. They're expensive, but
you don't have to
you
do
get
a
what you
lot
pay
in the
for.
front. You want to I removed this front sway bar if you have it. You want it to come up quickly in the front, and even my street car, I still got the stock springs in it.
Do you?
Yeah, I haven't, because I street drive it too much. I've been wanting to get a cuss out of, I'm like right there, you know. My car will lift my street car was lifting the, before motor failed.
What I used
would
to
lift the front end, the wheel's 4 inches off the ground on takeoff.
What I used to do is I would take the stabilizer links out, leave the sway bar on.
Yeah,
and then
you
just
can put it back in.
Yeah, and then put them back in. But then the other thing I would do too is loosen up the upper control arm nuts on the control arm.
Yeah.
When I went to the track,
Yeah.
and let it come up easy.
Yep.
So, yep.
My 67 was really loose. Like, that's why it felt so shady.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that on the street.
and
Drive
here-
it on the street.
Here I do on any F body, A body, any of them. Put in an anti-roll bar, not a
On the
sway
rear.
bar.
On the rear.
Anti-roll bar on the rear.
So my buddy,
they're worth their money in gold. They'll keep the car nice and flat.
my buddy Paul sells those from Huff and Stuff, and
that's what I had on my car.
Yep.
He's nailed it. I think Mike Minton runs it. I think he's got
those
one on
things
there.
are incredible.
A bunch of them. McCarty's, they run them on
Those
their car.
Paul's a Grand National guy, and those Grand Nationals, when they started making some power, they were twisting so bad, like my old Grand Prix, that he came up with that anti-roll bar for the back of those cars, and what a difference!
It's helped out. I mean,
And he's like right around the corner from my shop.
we used to always, like my 67, we'd load up the right-hand side, so you had the car leaned over.
Yeah.
So,
and
when
put an airbag on the right
yeah,
rear.
oh yeah. Okay, you had it airbagged,
Yep.
so you had it leaned over.
Yep.
I had like 100 pounds over here and just enough to keep the tire off,
Yep.
my big ass slick off the fender on this side.
Yep.
And you tried to get it to where it came up
Launched
nice
even.
and level.
Yeah.
And what happens though when you get to a certain level, when you let off, the car will jet left or right,
And that's not good.
and it's not good.
Yeah.
And
That's why I used to ease out of the
Yeah.
throttle instead of just get out of the throttle.
So
because you didn't know what direction it was going to go.
the anti-roll bar, you can put that in there and neutrally set it up, and it just responds because it's on the frame
Yeah.
and pushing against the bar. I've showed buddies of mine. I go up to my car by the window and I go, try to make the car rock. It don't. It
Right.
reacts right now, and you need that on the strip.
Yes. It makes the car leave straight.
Straight.
Yeah.
So you're putting equal amount of pressure down on the tires too.
Yeah.
When
Yep.
it's taking off, you're not trying to. One's trying to lift off, and one's trying to go right through the pavement.
My Grand Prix would leave on the right rear tire.
Yeah,
That's how
see,
hard it
that's-
twisted. Yep.
And if you would have had one of those in there,
I wouldn't have had that problem.
you wouldn't have had that.
It would have
problem.
ran
But
probably
you wouldn't have had-
980s.
You wouldn't have had that cool wheelie either.
No. Have you guys ever seen that 59 Chevy?
Oh, yeah.
That thing
He
leaves like my
drags the
Grand
right
Prix.
bumper.
Yeah.
Yeah. My Grand Prix left just like that.
Yeah, that's not good for. It looks really
It's
cool.
fun and it looks cool, and I love driving a car like
It's
that.
not safe, and it's not the quickest way down the strip.
It's not safe, but it's fun.
You really, we all want, it looks so badass when the wheels are up in the air. Like
yeah.
my GT, we had issues with, I had a drivetrain vibration problem, tore up, that you guys, if you've seen the videos, tore up shit in the motor.
Right.
I had a pilot fall off the converter. I think
That was
that's a
crazy. I've
big,
never
big
seen
problem.
damage like that before.
And then I had forgot, I was using the aftermarket oil pan. I get the car all set up. Literally, the suspension, everything. I go to back it in the garage, and I can't turn the wheel all the way. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
You had a big box oil pan on
Yeah,
there.
I didn't have to round it. It was squared, so the inner tie rods was hitting the oil pan.
So he had to raise the engine way
So I
up.
raised the motor, and I forgot to redo the pinion angle, which could have caused a lot of this vibration going on.
Yep, and I'm sure that's what.
And they are not. But
So
that,
Joe's the one who had the friction welded
Yes.
balancer.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen anything like that before.
Tore
I
up.
guess it's pretty common with turbo cars and tire shake, but I've never seen that before.
yeah, tore up the camshaft lifters.
Oh, it
did
tore
a
up
lot,
everything.
a lot cost me a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you got vibration. Oh, I tell you what, if you got a belt cell, all of a sudden out of the blue start just chucking.
Coming off the engine?
You better start looking deeper. My 71 before it blew, start chucking the belt, and I ran it all season the year before. I'm like, how come all of a sudden this belt
Coming
doesn't wanna
off.
stay off?
Yeah.
And then I had another buddy, Elliot. His started chucking belts, and his ended up blowing up too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
you
No, I had the
might
same
start
thing happen
looking
to
a little
mine.
deeper to start having belt. If you haven't had any issue, and
All
you
of a
can't
sudden-
find something loose or on a line, why would you all of a sudden have an alignment problem? You shouldn't.
Right.
Unless you change something.
Mine, what happened with mine was mine started doing the same thing, and I didn't know it, but I was getting a crack in the bell housing of my transmission.
That'll do that.
Yep.
Yes.
And then it finally broke, and when it did, all hell broke loose. It was not
I've had
good.
a few of my buddies. That's if you start getting up to that 10-second, low tens and whatnot, it's a good idea to get a JW, a bell housing
Yes.
to put on.
Yes. An SFI certified bell
Yes,
housing.
that's
It's
it.
really thick.
It's thick. It'll help prevent
The other
against you
thing,
cracking.
uh,
I've seen a lot of them crack bell housings.
Well, what I learned, and the reason mine cracked was because I had solid motor mounts and I had a solid tranny mount, and you don't ever want to do that.
You want something in there.
It has to
See,
give.
I had a solid mount. I had a front plate on the 535, but I had a rubber mount on the tranny.
Did you?
I had a mid plate and everything, and I mean this thing was pretty well held in
Yeah.
place. But
Yeah, that wasn't your issue. It was just an alignment issue.
I think
But mine was because I was using factory engine mounts, which is not good either. And I wish I had pictures of my engine whenever I pulled it out of the car. It actually caved in the side of my engine block because of the torque of the engine, and I had factory mounts on there instead of motor plates. And it tore up a lot of shit. So,
it says that for flying brakes. I'm looking at some of these comments, but coming back.
Oh, yeah,
well,
that's
hey
why I
Joe,
had the
you know
screen
what?
there.
We're so happy you got to come down and spend some time with us.
Yeah,
This is
like,
awesome.
it cost me triple time, but I'm here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you know what? Poor Joe, he ended up.
I got offered to work.
Oh, he didn't know it, or he would have
But-
probably taken it. I don't blame him.
Well,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I had to get down there. I got to get the motor. I'm gonna try like hell, guys, to get it up to Norwalk. But
Let's hope he
I
does.
need to get down the strip a couple times up at home,
Well, you
Yep.
got a month.
and
We were just talking about that.
I got another.
Don't let me beat you. You know what? I'm putting a Ram Air 4
Yeah,
together,
yeah,
and I'm
mine.
close.
Got another comment as far as guys come to Norwalk for whatever reason. From my home track, it's 2/10 slower.
Norwalk, you know what? Usually,
we always get bad at the
Weather,
end.
yeah.
But, I mean, it's like you're at 3,000 feet.
it's like
if you figure it out.
3,800 feet.
All
I mean,
the
this
time there.
stupid
And I
high
thought it'd be
altitude.
better in July. Well, you got to watch too now. Your bracket.
Yeah, oh,
You're
yeah.
gonna get fast in the evening there
Yes.
in July because
Yes.
it's actually cooling off. When we were in August, it was 90 in the shade.
No matter what, even at night,
so-
yeah. But yeah, he's
Yeah.
right. So in July, it cools off, and it could be like a tenth and a half seconds. I mean,
I
it's
had
quick.
to get on Dave, the Angry Pumpkin. He got there. My car's running too. I go, is this 2/10? I was like, yeah.
It's
I'm
cool.
like, don't go after jetting nothing. Just enjoy your day. You're bracket racing.
Right.
I go, make your next pass, back it up. You back it up,
Leave it a
you're
go.
done. Leave it
Yeah.
alone and
Yep.
enjoy and go and visit people and
I
whatnot.
can't.
I go, we're only here one time a year.
Yep.
You're bracket racing. I mean, obviously there's some guys that go heads up, but I mean, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, why are you going to jump in your
Well,
carburetor
unless you're trying
and
to
have
do the
change it
quick,
when you get
if
back
you're doing
home?
the quick
Right.
16 or the quick 4
Yeah,
or whatever, then yeah, you're gonna play with that kind of stuff. But typical brack racer, you're not gonna play with that.
Yeah.
So
Go
we got any
enjoy.
questions before we wrap this all up, or?
Well, they had one for you about recommendation for a street car, but I don't know if you want to answer that now.
What kind of
So Tom Bop has recommendation for street, mostly strip, sometimes 1970 GTO, 355, 12-bolt rear, wants to go with a 400 plus GV overdrive.
Okay.
Oh, overdrive.
Yep.
And then hope my 400 block is still good in using Don's combo. What stall should he use?
So actually, that's Tom Bop, and what we're getting ready to order your parts actually, Tom. So anyhow, what I'm going to do is, I needed to call you and see if you want to do a stroker engine or not. I do believe that's what we're going to do. So if we're going to do like a 461, that 355 gear is good, but if you have an overdrive, you might want to go, if you haven't got your gear yet, put a 373 or a 390 in it. And then that way you don't need as much converter.
What do you think with a gear vendor overdrive?
That's what he's
Yeah,
talking about.
that's
I
what.
mean,
I would go I go stiffer.
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
think,
So you
yeah.
want to go like a 373 or 390, and then that way he doesn't have to have a lot of converter. He can put like a 2800 stall converter in, and he'll be fine.
I should have a
So
stroker, man.
yeah. So because what we're going to build him is not going to be like anything crazy. It's going to be a 236, 242. Kind of like Cam you got in your engine.
Yeah.
But he's got a
Last-
fairly heavy car. It's a 70 GTO, so it's not light. But no, I would put a 373 or 390 gear in it, and with the overdrive, and a 2800, 3200 stall. That'd be perfect for what we're going to build you.
Be road friendly too.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, the fuel economy,
Be fun.
if
You'll
you
get
want
that
to
too.
use it.
That was one thing in the Ram Air 5 too. We were, when I was dynoing the 458, we made 10 plus pulls. We burned less than 4 gallons of fuel.
Isn't that crazy? How does them Ram Air 5 heads do
I don't
that?
get it. I don't get it. You're pulling more air, You
Yeah.
gotta make power. You're making
Yeah.
power. They're that efficient. And Danny said the same thing.
Yep. And we just did it whenever we were running your engine on the stand. Brandon's, but we just run Ben Stefanski's engine on there, which has got a Nettlebrach head. And for the same amount of runtime, we went through like 7 gallons of fuel. On your engine, we went through 3.
I noticed that too on my run stand. My E had ate it up.
Yeah.
I only got a 1 gallon cell on there.
It's gone.
My 5, I didn't run it out. I'm like, my
Yeah.
E had run it out.
But the 5 engine, man, we didn't even have to fill the tank up. But Ben's, we had to fill it up twice.
And I don't know what we ran at. We didn't burn that much on the 535 either.
Not when we were dynoing, no. No, as a matter of fact, Jude said something about that. I mean, he had like a 5-gallon fuel cell, and I don't think we put any fuel in it, did we?
About 7 gallons or something.
Was it 7?
I don't
Okay,
know.
it wasn't very
I don't know
much.
how many pulls we made. We made quite a few.
Yeah. Till our rear main seal started leaking.
Yeah.
He did reply back. He was thinking of stroker, but he just contacted Henderson, and they rebuilt the 12-bolt to
was gonna say,
a 355.
That's okay, it'll work. Yeah,
So-
it'll work.
go
There's
see
nothing
the
wrong with that. Ideally, because you got the gear vendors overdrive, 373 or 390 would have been a little bit. And you know what? We're talking trying to max everything out. So for what you're doing, Tom, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
Well, the only reason why I bring up the gear vendors is because they have the gears in it that
You can make it a 6-speed.
it multiplies it.
Yeah.
So I was just like, if you went with like a 411 gear,
That's a little too much for a
Think-
stroker.
think
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason is because the stroker engine, we're using a factory head. It's all done at like 5,000, 5,200.
Oh,
It's not like a Ram Air 5 engine.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Ram Air 5, we're going to rev them things to 75, 8,000.
Right.
But as factory head, you would narrow your power band up so much it wouldn't be fun to drive.
Gotcha.
So no, 355 gear will be fine. It'll work. I raced for as a matter of fact, give you an example, my 80 Grand Prix that I drag raced, and I drove it to the track and I drove it home. I went from a 355 gear to a 410 gear, and the car slowed down. So it didn't like it. It actually went faster with a 355 gear.
What if he got a lockup converter?
You're not gonna. That's big money on a turbo 400.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. You do that, and you're gonna spend about $6,000-$7,000. Yeah.
Ouch. That's a whole nother.
That's a lot of money. Now, if you put a 4L60, or not a 4L60, but a 4L80E in there, you're not going to need the gear vendor. I don't know if he bought the gear vendor yet or not, but if you want to put a 4L80E, which is basically a turbo 400 with overdrive, now then you could put a lockup converter in, and that would be cool. You could do that. And then that way you could put like a 3600 stall converter in it. So you could do that too. Now remember, we're going to get margaritas after we're done here.
So you're taking the day off tomorrow, huh?
No, I'll still get up at 4 o'clock and go work out.
Yeah, 4 after 10.
Did you find Don, like in the 80s, we were about the same time, man, if you found somebody that had a fast Pontiac, they would not tell you what they
Nothing.
had.
No.
So
They did
it's
not
so
want-
great that we have internet. We have people that I'll tell you any of my combos. I don't give a shit. But I mean, it was the Hunt brothers.
Yeah.
I went and talked to them back then. It was wild. I think it was probably '85 or so. I went and bought a shit ton of parts, and I told him I wanted to get in 12. I had a 400 at the time. I want to get into 12s. He goes, he looked at me straight in the eyes like, 400, 450, anything 400 up should run 1150s. And I'm like, well, how do I do that? He goes, well, we can talk about that all day. He wanted to build the motor.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
I ain't shitting you. My first motor, it only had about $3,600.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah, it's
from
cheap.
carburetor to
My
headers
first-
and everything. You know?
My first performance engine I built back in 1983 or 84 for a customer was only $1,800.
Yeah, I mean, we could build, you know, and it's not, you know, of course, his prices were cheap, but we used factory shit.
Yeah, that's
you
what
used the
the-
rocker arms that were on the heads, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, like
You
were talking
literally
about
used
the
all
roller rockers. We
factory
just
parts.
used- and we get Ram Air 4 push rods. We
Yep.
get all the
Yep.
we were looking for all the stout stuff, and you could actually get some like Jeff's motor. In fact, to this day, his got a Ram Air 5 oil pump.
And the thing of it is you know, we didn't have a lot of cylinder heads and cams to choose from, and that's why it was so cheap. We literally used a factory D-port head that we did a competition valve job, which we were doing wrong at that time. We just didn't know it. And we would use a Ram Air 4 cam, and factory rocker arms, usually 1.5s because the Ram Air 4 stuff was hard to find. And I mean, it was just basic stuff.
The only
factory cast rods.
The only aftermarket intake we had, you know, that was open pump was a Torker 1.
Yep. And it was a piece of
And
shit.
it was a the Holly Dom was
The
a Holly
Street Dominator.
Street Dominator.
The
It was
actual Street Dominator was better than
that was
the-
pretty good intake. Well, I got the Warrior, but people couldn't
Yeah.
afford that. I mean, I
Right.
saved my pennies. It was 320
Well,
something.
if you found an original Doug Nash magnesium one,
yeah.
even back then they were $500-600.
But you were talking about, you know, like HO heads and stuff in the 80s.
Yeah, they were big
2500.
money. Big money.
They were huge. So we had to make do, and we did a lot of stuff on our own. We didn't have the internet to find, you know. I mean, if Nunzi was out there, Jim Taylor, there was, you know, some engine builders like your dad at the time, but couldn't afford them, you know.
Yep.
You Nunzi was pretty cool. I've called him, and it was too funny because he just like, Joe, do you want to go fast? I can remember him just saying that. You want to go fast, you know? You got to do this, you know? Yeah, he built some fast stuff back in the day, but he still wanted your business too, and I couldn't afford it back in the day.
Yeah.
And then it was wild that you know, Rick, I met your dad with when he had the Tiger head at Nationals, and then when he come out with the Ram Air 5, and then Rick Ferrara got involved. He wanted to go that route. And, hey, Joe, what do you think about doing this? I'm like, well, you know, I've got a little extra money right now. I might have to check this out too. So I got involved in that. But I had always said, your dad, I'd seen him, he did articles for High Performance Pontiac.
Yes.
I like, this guy's really close.
Yeah.
I got to have him. I loved his attention to detail when he was going through and building motors and kind of like his doing his little clips now.
Yep. Yep.
You know, I go, I gotta have this guy build me a motor, and he
Oh,
finally
yeah.
did. And
Oh yeah.
I've always said, I go, this 535, it's your baby now. you got to do all the maintenance, you know. And I got to have the shop. I'm not gonna. I take it to a machine shop up by me. They won't even know what the hell they're looking at.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
They don't have no idea. I would definitely have to have all the specs.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, everything that your dad did.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I remember growing up, my dad was always on me to, you know, even when tearing down, even though we were never going to use the parts again, always put stuff, how you take it off. I mean, just that
Yep.
alone, you know, because he always told me, if you know how it works, you know how to make it work better.
Yep. That's truth.
Gotta understand it.
Yeah. I'm just happy to be able to, you know, get to a point where I could have him do me a motor. You know, I
Yep.
mean, you guys out there, some of you're gonna have to do a lot of stuff. You ain't got the money, you gotta do a lot of stuff yourself.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I tell you what, you can make I built a fast motor out of not a lot of stuff,
Yep. Oh yeah.
You
Well,
know,
you
as far
figure it
as-
out. Yeah.
aftermarket stuff.
Yep.
And your the best thing that you can buy is the best set of heads that you can afford.
Right.
You know, you can get by with stock, and you get in 11s with stock stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But you need to be able to, you know, hopefully afford, you know, an Eldbrock head. Or your
Right.
dad's new head's going to
Yep.
be fantastic,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
going to fit a lot of different programs, from
Yes.
full on race to just out of the box.
Yep.
What you know,
I
you
honestly,
can grow with it.
Yes.
You're gonna be able to grow with it. And it's gonna
I
be
honestly
awesome.
think that the new D port and round port heads are going to be
The Ram Air
just-
5 is not everybody's cup. It's kind of like the
No.
Tiger was.
Yeah,
back
yeah.
then. And how long did it really take the guys
To
got
catch on
got
and
them
figure
well
it out.
got them figured
Yep.
out? You know, it took a minute.
Well, you know,
Now,
it's
right
really.
now,
it took some guys that were willing to, you know,
Spend
gamble
money.
their money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I
They go,
remember
"This
my
is gonna
dad and Jim Scott with the Ram Air or the Tiger heads, and all the R&D that Jim Scott and you did, and I mean, just
Those right now are some of the fastest
Yeah.
heads that are on the fastest NA cars out there.
And that crazy? Even better than some of the Hemi and the Canada stuff.
yeah.
It's crazy.
well, Butler just posted that. I don't know if you've seen it today or not on Facebook, but he just built a motor for some guy. I don't know who it was, but it had the Tiger head on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Tiger head's still the king.
Are they making them? Are they casting them? Or
I don't know what's going on. I have not.
I don't
heard.
know. I ain't even heard anything on blocks really.
Nope, I haven't either.
Well,
You know, all Pontiac. I don't
all
know what's
Pontiac,
going
they're
on.
they're still in business.
yeah.
They're-
Oh, are they? Oh, okay.
I just bought a block from them here about right before what happened at the shop. So
Okay. I didn't know that they were still around or not because usually you hear about them all throughout the Pontiac Nationals.
they're
you
not
know.
probably doing as much advertising. I don't think Frank is racing as much as he used to either. So he's getting up there. I mean, Frank's probably getting close to 75. if I
Yeah,
had to
but
guess.
the last time I was on their site, they didn't have any heads or anything with that you could get
Right.
at that time. So
Well,
I
they
don't
made
know.
a couple of provision changes to the heads, and I think it kind of killed the sales. They
Same.
should have left them the way they were.
Push your button on your mic, Dad. The
Somebody
bottom on the button.
If it went
Just
dead.
push it one time.
Nope, it's dead.
It's dead.
Oh, it's dead.
No,
Yeah.
it
Take
died.
We'll just lay it right here on the table.
All right.
Well, you know what? We probably ought to wrap this up anyway, fellas. It's
Yeah,
getting late.
we went extra with Joe's. Joe.
Yeah, Joe made us stay late.
Yeah.
I always
And
do.
we don't get overtime.
Yeah.
And I usually show up with beer. in
Well,
hand.
no,
Right.
you know what though? I mean, every time we have someone come on, I just let it run because
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
I mean, as long as the audience is here and we're enjoying it.
that, and
Yeah.
you know what? It's not often we get to have people here with us.
Right.
You know,
right.
so
No, I'm glad Joe got to come down. This
Yep.
is awesome,
Yep.
Joe.
Very
Thank
awesome.
you so much for coming down.
yeah.
You know, it's
No,
and
friends-
he gave up big overtime today.
Yeah. He actually gave
I gotta
money
get
away.
that motor though.
Well, let's stay after
Damn
Joe.
thing's still costing me money.
That's right. Yeah, wait till I give you the bill.
Oh, gee. Yeah. You better talk about that when you get some margaritas in them.
Yeah, that'll be after dinner. Actually, it's not that bad. But anyway, yeah, so, you know what? It was awful generous of Joe to come down and spend some time with us, and we appreciate that big time.
Yep.
Yeah, Don's an awful busy guy and stuff. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you got some questions or something about street combo or whatever,
Yep.
I built a lot of them. I can help out. I ain't gonna, like I said, I'll tell you exactly what cams I run and everything. You know,
He doesn't hide nothing.
we had to learn on our own. It
Yeah.
really sucked.
We learned through the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
It cost us
and
a lot of money.
Yeah, it did.
Yep. And
A lot of
Joe's not a
mistakes.
mean guy. He's a great guy. So I don't know if you guys ever met him at Norwalk or not, but he gives you a hug.
Yeah.
So, he does do that.
Hopefully you.
But bring Yingling because he loves Yingling.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hopefully.
And bring Yingling black and tan. That's me.
Hopefully we'll see you guys at Norwalk and stuff. Come over and say hi.
Yeah, for
Oh,
sure,
yeah.
man. We'll be sitting there at the pits, and Joe will be sitting there in the lawn chair.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Mike, the car doesn't make it there, I'll be drunk, but I'll be there.
Yeah, then make sure and bring
I don't have to
Yingling.
drive.
That's right.
That's right. You're going to spend the night.
Well, it doesn't look like Ed Page is going to be able to make it either. So
Really?
Oh,
Yeah,
bummer.
he's
I thought he
having-
was going to make it.
he's having issues with shipping.
Oh,
That's the
man.
problem with this stuff, man, and especially after COVID. We've had
We've
so
had,
many
you know,
problems.
and I work, you guys don't know, I work for General Motors, and I work at the truck plant in Flint, Michigan, and it's the same thing there.
Yeah. It
We'll
doesn't
run
matter
out
what
of
industry
something
either.
shipping, and then
Yep.
the quality of parts.
It's just nuts.
yeah.
The Chinese, they don't need to come to war with us because they are going to conquer us through their freaking shit products.
Yeah, junk.
And let me rephrase that. He will still be there. I just don't know if the Raven will be running.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's hope
got-
that he can bring Mike's car.
Mike-
and
Mike-
maybe,
Oh, yeah.
Mike
maybe
have his
Steve's
car.
Yep.
Mike's runs really good.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. He's a 10-second street car. That's fast.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Michael's awesome to hang out with. He's
Mike's
a grin.
tune, man.
Oh, yeah.
How you find
Yeah.
him, just look for the straw hat.
Straw hat. I usually wear the straw cowboy hat.
Yep. I was gonna say, yep.
He's usually got the folded up sides. Mike's got the one that's just got the flat brim.
Yeah. The sun doesn't like me. I gotta stay covered out. There ain't
Right.
much shade out there.
No, there's not.
But it's a good time. If you guys don't
It
ever
is.
get to Norwalk, you need to go. It's in Norwalk,
Yeah,
Ohio.
you got to do that if you're a Pontiac.
Yeah,
guru.
it's the
You
biggest
got to
show in
do
the
it
country.
one time.
Oh yeah.
You can't even do it all in one day.
No.
You need to go for the weekend. Don't screw around and try to come for a day.
And-
come all weekend.
And the track's beautiful, well maintained,
Yep.
clean bathrooms, great food.
They got showers there, so
Yep.
if you stay at the track,
You
you
can
can
stay
take a
right at the
shower.
track. A lot
Yeah.
of people don't realize that too.
Great
Yeah,
facility.
they got, it's not just drag races. The car show, if you're into that,
Yeah,
swap
swap
meet,
meet.
all
Their
the
swap
vendors
meet's
are
one of the
there.
biggest Pontiac swap meets in the country.
Yeah.
And I've went up in it as well because you get the Butlers and the Kaufman guys, because
Right.
they usually got a car in competition, but
Yep.
they will
Yep.
take time to talk to you too.
Yep.
Yep. And the
Yep.
other thing is too is you got the Frantic Four, and those guys are they're
Fast
big boys.
cars.
They're playing fast cars.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
you just get to
Butlers
see everything.
And, Kaufmans are going at it. Mike Cooper's that guy's name. I
Yeah.
think is who you're talking about. That Butler just
Yeah,
finished up.
Cooper.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So and Mike's
Is that the
got
one with
a
the red
bad-
68 Firebird?
No, he's got 63 Le Mans.
Mans,
Who's the
yeah.
one with the red 60 something Firebird?
Well,
Pro
that's-
Mod.
That's Ben Wilkinson, but I
No,
think he
no,
sold
no.
that
I'm
car.
not talking about maroon. I'm talking about the cherry red one.
Yeah, there's a cherry red one too.
Oh, you know what? Mike Cooper might have.
Yeah,
that
he might have
be
moved
his
to
new
it. He
car,
might have
yeah.
moved to that. Yeah,
Okay.
because he had
He
the
used
Le
to have a
Mans.
63 Le Mans that was red.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
he sold it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay,
well
so
then-
he's got the Firebird. now.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Ben sold sold his car.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
did
Ben
sell
sold
it.
his
Yep.
car, yep.
Yep. He did sell
He
it.
was building another one. but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was a Trans Am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking car. Yeah.
I don't know if it's done though.
So the other guy too is I think that might have bought Mike Cooper's car was Dave DeBono, which he's got Ram Air 5 heads, and I haven't heard anything from Dave for a while because they were going to Fuel Tech to get that thing dialed in. So maybe they're going to surprise us and come down to Norwalk with that.
That'd be
that
cool.
Would be sweet.
Yep.
Humans has been there. I'd like to see him again. That dang car's flying right
Oh,
now. That's all
yeah.
Pontiac again.
Yeah.
Yep.
He did have that Hemi in there that
Jason,
he
can you-
sailed it
can you
over the
please?
Yep.
over the railing.
Oh yeah, that was scary. That was real scary. He was lucky to walk. Well, he didn't walk away from that, but he was lucky to get out of that.
It started to stand up the other day. He shut it down.
I
and
seen
kinda-
that.
Yeah. Rich Lyles. What's Rich racing now?
He's got a 63 Le Mans. That's the old Bubba.
Yeah, that's a
63 Le Mans.
silver.
Oh, so he has the
Yeah.
So he has that silver
Silver
one.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
That's a badass
That's
car,
a badass
too.
car.
It is a badass car. Yep.
Yep. There's some badass Pontiacs out there, guys. I mean, you got to get to Norwalk and see all these cars.
I haven't heard anything about the engine wars too. I've been to that too. So like
Is
I
that
said,
the one in Maryland or on the East Coast?
no, Indiana.
Oh, okay. I don't know
Indiana.
about that one.
That's
Randy Rupp?
that's Randy's.
Oh,
event.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know he was still doing that race. I thought
He did it last year. I haven't heard anything about this year. Hopefully he does. I haven't been able to go. Unfortunately, I did a couple with them and in India there. So he got some beautiful trophies. I
So
love
Randy's another Pontiac guy. I mean, you know what? We're losing some Pontiac guys, but we're gaining some
Yep,
too. So.
he's doing some motors, some stuff. He's been doing the run stand thing like yourself.
Yep. And we
Okay.
got Jim Wilkerson down in I think Tennessee, and he's doing building engines.
Yeah.
And Paul
Yep, and Paul
Spots.
Spots. I think Paul's getting ready to retire. I think
He's out on the
I
West
think he's
Coast.
about ready to. No, he's on the East Coast.
These.
Yeah. He's about ready to say, you know what? He's had enough, and he wants to enjoy life, and I don't blame him.
Yep.
I'm too stupid to do that. I'm still working hard. So I'm hoping my son will take
Yeah,
over.
yeah. You got to
eventually.
turn it over here
Yeah.
eventually.
Well, trust me, he has a tight grip. And I don't blame him. My dad does love this stuff. Like,
Oh, we
Loves
live and
this stuff.
eat and breathe it.
Yep.
If you talk to my best friends, Tim and Jeff, I've been doing this forever. They're like, man, you obsessive. I go, yes, I do.
so it's gonna be
Yes,
really
I
hard
do.
for me to get my dad to loosen the reins a little bit.
You know what? I got to do it sooner or later. But you know what? I see these guys, these old guys that are still doing it. Don Garlitz and Pat Dunn and Ed.
Keep some
Escudero.
young, brother, man. Keep some active and
Yeah.
going. They're still.
Yeah.
You know, I'm only
Their
pushing
minds
70.
are
These
still.
guys
You
are pushing
you see them in
100.
interviews. Their minds are
Yep.
still there. I mean,
Oh yeah.
So no,
and it's the camaraderie, the whole dang thing about going to these events. I mean,
Well, we love. This is why we started this program. My son talked me into this. I didn't want to do this, but he talked me into it. And I'm glad he did because it's awesome. Because we get to sit around bullshit about this stuff. I usually am at the grinder getting dirty and sniffing shit.
yeah.
Well, I told him. I said, "This is how I got him." I go, "This is free advertisement."
I don't even care about that.
Well, no, I know you don't. But what I'm saying though is, we get to talk about your products.
Yeah.
We get to talk about other people's products. We get
Yeah.
to talk about what other people are doing.
Right.
And that's the whole
Don,
fun about it.
You've been real good. You don't talk bad about other people's
No,
stuff and
no,
stuff.
absolutely
I've
not.
seen at the Nationals people put on a block that's blown up. This was so and so as well. You know
Yeah,
what?
No, we're not about that.
That ain't what we're about. You
Nope.
know what? Everybody's going to have failures. Everybody's going to make mistakes.
We're all
human.
fighting right now to
Yep.
keep shit running and
Well,
to get stuff.
You're right.
The problem is the Chineseism that has ruined our industry. And now we're all dealing with it. And you're going to have failures
Yeah.
when that shit's going on. Hopefully we get through this in the next couple of years and that'll get better.
Well, what I really like about the Pontiac community is, for instance, if someone breaks, there's always someone there going, "Hey,
Help.
I got a part."
Oh yeah.
You know.
I bring a shit ton of shit. Just in case somebody needs that. I got
I
extra
used
battery,
to,
I got
but I
extra
don't- I haven't
starter.
raced so long,
I bring
I don't do
everything
that.
extra.
Yep.
And we'll bring in my crew of 5 cars, and then you got the Raven guys, I mean,
Yep.
Yep.
which I all consider anybody that's DCI or
Right.
of course you
Yep.
guys need anything, but we're generally not always in the same. It's hard to get in all in the
It
same
is.
area.
It is. Yep.
You got people.
And I got a ton of customers at the Nationals. I don't get to talk to everybody, and I'm sorry, guys, that I don't get to see you guys. But I'm not kidding you. I've been going since the first one. I've been in business since 1983. So I mean, I know a lot of people
Well,
there.
yeah, and not only that, you haven't even been racing
For
and
like 30 years.
and you haven't been able to get to everybody. So
Yeah, then your brother and your nephew, you gotta
Yep.
help them out a little bit. You're always over there helping the Raven crew,
Yep.
because that's always
And my dad, he's 85 this year, and he brings his
yeah,
car.
your
and I need to
dad's
help him.
car. Yeah, I mean there's always stuff going on, so it's hard to. You do a good job though. You run around and.
I don't eat.
do the
I
best.
literally do not eat. I mean, I
there's times
barely
out
get to take a pee
there's times
break.
I have to chase them down and give them water or a beer.
Yeah, I prefer beer.
But I know when he's had too much beer and then bad things happen. Trust me, I know.
Well, only if you piss me off.
No, I'm not even talking about that. He likes to go sliding in the mud, Joe.
Oh no way!
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? We have fun too. Sometimes you gotta let your hair down.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this was fun, guys. I
Well, I'm
enjoyed
glad you
it.
got to come out tonight, Joe. This is awesome,
Yep.
buddy. Appreciate it.
Yep. Hopefully, have the car there and come over say hi and.
Yeah, come see Joe and see the crew, and and like I said, he's
how
got
we're
a
doing.
great bunch of guys that they hang out. They got Rick Ferreira,
Yep.
Mike McCarty. He's
Yep.
got
His
Dave,
son,
Dave,
Dave.
and then we got Tim and Chris Corsiak. And
Yep.
we got
My buddy Jeff comes, and man, I mean, they're all good people. They throw in. Man, I had the last time I ran the 5, it started chucking the belt, and that was the first night. And we generally do pretty good on the first night because everybody's come from somewhere.
and they're
they haven't mastered the tree yet.
yeah, and they're tired too.
Especially because you got just a box and no box. Well, the no box class, they can run the trans brake. It's hard to beat. Those guys are
Yeah.
class racers.
Yep.
They race every weekend.
Yep.
Yep.
And they're running a trans. They cut the tree down.
Yep.
And I got to the point. I went a couple rounds, and I'm like, man, I got to put this belt all on. I had 2 guys.
You were still going rounds though.
Well, it was my buddy from work and his dad. And they're like, we'll put the belt back on. You just keep going. So I got them, and then Mike's stepsons, they would put my car on charge because my alternator ain't charged. So they charge. They put my car on charge. I had to rip the hood off because it's a pin-on hood. The Zeus, 15 of them, I got to run around the hood. I get the hood off. They threw the belt back on. They get a charge. We splash some gas, and I keep going rounds. We had 5 cars there, and
You did awesome that weekend.
3 of the guys went out early, and I'm running along, and all of a sudden, because I'm taking it, you'll get timed out. So
Yeah.
we had this shit down like a NASCAR crew by the end.
So what he means by that is you got to get back to the stage lines at the end of the race.
You win, you get back in line.
Right.
And these people have been, they've been there for hours. The workers, they've been there 12 hours.
And they want to go home.
They want to go home.
Yep.
They'll time you out.
So they're going.
We want to get done.
They're pushing.
So we get this all down. I finally told the guys I got one of them little generators. I'm like, put the generator on the golf cart and the
Screw the belt.
and the
Right.
battery charger, take it down the staging lanes. We can charge down there.
Right.
So we just get the belt on real quick, we run down there, and I come around the corner. I'm the last car. I'm always the last car. And we were always, when we had 5 in, we had to space out so we don't race each other.
Right.
So, you're trying to, and then you got Michael Minton, you got a bunch of the other guys,
that are good too.
Yep.
we just don't want to race each other until the finals.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
come wheeling around, and I'm like, man, there's only 3. I know I'm the last car. 3 cars left. And we had way more in the no box class than the box class. They were all done. I pulled around, I'm like, holy shit, Michael's still in it. And he's the first car, and there's a car in between us, so I'm like, one of us is getting a bye run. I pulled up, and they marked my window. I'm like,
Yes.
I'm in the final. So I got you still got to go and light the light. You can back
Right.
out. Well,
Right.
my car it was kind of hot and stuff, so I pull up behind Michael. But when he staged, I got front row seats to watch him if he's gonna win or lose here. And he won, so I had to race my buddy in the final. So, and he's a young man. He's like his late 20s. He whooped my ass on that light, and I beat him to the end, but I broke out to do it. I tried to get him to go heads up with me because I dialed 1070. He's 1070. He's like, oh, you know you're sandbagging on the car. Well, it hasn't ran that much faster, but the temperature, we lost wind and everything. Yeah. I'm like, but you're gonna tree me. I'm like, come on, let's go heads up. Let's freak everybody out by just dialing the same.
And just run.
We'll run
heads up.
Let's put 10-0 and we'll go heads up. You know, for the win. You know. Yeah. So we have a good time, and
that's awesome. That's what it's all about, right there. Yep. That's what it's all about. We go to the racetrack to win, but we also go there for the friendship.
It's a friendship. I've met so many people, and what's really cool when you meet somebody online, they ask you questions or whatever, and you're sharing, you know, you're messaging back and forth on Facebook, and then you actually get to meet them face to face.
Face to face, yeah. Yep. Then you find out how big an asshole I am.
Jim McDonald. Jim McDonald's got a 67. I always comment because that was his car. That was like my 67 back in the day. I love his beautiful car. You know, I think the first time I seen him, he called, give me a hug. You know, it's like,
no,
you know,
it's great,
man.
It's like a big giant family.
It is.
You know, Pontiac guys love each other, so that's an awesome
Like
thing.
you said, we help.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we've been knee deep.
Well, you know what? Look what we did for Tina and her.
Oh
car.
yeah. You know, they just happened to come in. Boy, she's been having all kinds of. Just keep some prayers for her, and hopefully she's there to run her car.
Yep. Well, hopefully
she's down to get. She likes to get it on.
Oh, she
And
loves
that's
racing
awesome.
that car.
Yep.
She got a blue 77 or
Beautiful.
78 Trans Am, beautiful car.
Beautiful car.
And her husband's got an awesome car. George's got a beautiful. What is his 78 Trans Am? Isn't it?
Yeah.
With a twin turbo deal.
And the TA that I have, it's my lifelong project's a 78 Trans Am.
Yeah.
My buddy cut that one up, made it in a race car. That car's worth so much damn money right now. That's a Hearst. That's a Hearst TA.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right. Making a race car still be.
Yeah, I went even back there when I bought it. I can't even remember when I bought it. Oh, like 90 or 2000. I bought it in like 2000. I go, dude, you cut up a Hearst. It goes, I got an SD. Fuck it.
Yeah. You got an SD and an SE. Yeah. Great.
I go, man, I will put this together. When I get into Norwalk, people are going to rip me up and down.
I'd make it
for
look
making
just
it
like that. I'd make it look just like a factory car.
race car, man.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
'Cause it's it's tubbed out and everything.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, I think we're gonna call it quits.
Yeah, we got to go get food.
We gotta get something to eat before I get drunk.
Yeah. Before
I
they
want another beer,
close.
but I'm not gonna do it because I want to go get something to eat first.
And the merchandise, speaking of which, Tom, I'm still working on that. But my dad, you still have shirts, right?
I got some, but we're limited.
Well, I know we're low.
You need to get some ball caps.
Yeah, I need ball caps. They want tank tops and all that stuff.
Okay.
I want a ball cap.
All right.
Yep.
So,
Hey, like and share, everybody.
Yeah, for sure, man. We got to grow our channel.
Yep.
And it has been growing. The last couple of weeks, it's been growing pretty good.
You know what? Send this stuff to your Chevy buddies with it because this
Yeah,
applies to
doesn't
all
matter.
motor.
all everything.
We got Ford guys on here. We got all
Yep.
kinds of people on here. So
Yep.
yeah, because the Ford, the tunnel port head was a Ford head to begin with.
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
It's a Mopar.
Yeah, I see somebody hit you up.
Mopar
Hey,
guys.
can you get an intake for our Ford
Yeah,
head?
I've seen that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
It-
If you had a set of Ford heads, you probably could.
well, I
get it to
got a
fit.
guy who really wants a set for his Ford, but I don't know. It'd take a lot of work to adapt them. So,
All right, guys. Hopefully, see you at Norwalk.
yeah, for sure, man.
Yep.
And
I'll be there.
one
I
way
don't
or
know if the
another.
car will be there, but I'll be there.
And all his buddies will be there too. So.
Oh yeah, we'll have cars there.
Yep.
I just become the pit crew when
Whenever your car's
my
not
car's
there.
not there.
Yep.
I'm the drunken pit crew, but
Perfect.
I get it
That's all
done.
right. You're there. All right, guys. It
everybody.
was a good night tonight, I think, and everybody had fun. I hope so. We will see you guys next week.
Yep. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll see you all next week.